In the last curio, we explored how artificial intelligence is beginning to share in our thinking, helping us retrieve information, organize ideas, summarize knowledge, and even solve problems. Now, another question is beginning to emerge. What happens when machines don't simply think with us, but begin creating alongside us? More than 50 years ago, Japanese roboticist Masahiro Mori observed something very curious. As robots became more human-like, people generally responded more positively, until suddenly they didn't. At a certain point, almost human became unsettling. A robot that appeared 95% human often felt less comfortable than one that looked obviously mechanical. He called this phenomenon the Uncanny Valley. Today we may be discovering a creative version of that same valley. Artificial intelligence can now generate paintings that resemble great masters, compose orchestral music, write poetry, produce films. And technically, many of these creations are astonishing. Yet many people still instinctively feel that something is missing. Not because the work is poorly executed, not at all, but because it seems to lack the subtle evidence of human experience. And that raises an educational question. If machines can increasingly imitate creativity, what exactly are we teaching when we teach students to be creative? Welcome to the EdTech Curio Cabinet. I'm Christina, and with each curio we explore the evolving world of education through 4 lenses. The artifact, a technology, practice, or idea shaping learning. The pattern, the deeper historical forces surrounding it. The paradox, the tension hidden beneath the surface. And finally, the signal, a glimpse into where education may be heading next. In this curio, we explore synthetic creativity, authentic expression, and how creative intelligence may reshape not only creative work, but the way education recognizes and evaluates it. Generative AI systems have dramatically expanded who can create. With only a few prompts, students can now generate illustrations, music, videos, stories, animations. What once demanded years of technical training can increasingly begin with just curiosity. For many learners, this is enormously empowering. Students who once struggled with drawing can visualize ideas. Writers can rapidly explore multiple storylines, and musicians can experiment with arrangements that they may have never attempted before. Creative expression is becoming more accessible. But accessibility introduces an important educational challenge. Creative disciplines have rarely evaluated only the finished artifact. Art students submit sketchbooks. Design students defend their choices during critiques. Writers receive multiple drafts, and musicians rehearse before a performance. Long before generative AI arrived, educators recognized that creativity is revealed through the process as much as the final product. The artifact is evidence, but so is the thinking behind it. Technology has repeatedly transformed artistic practice. Photography changed painting. Recording technologies transformed music. Digital illustration reshaped graphic design, and computer animation revolutionized filmmaking. Each innovation initially generated concern that authentic creativity might disappear, but instead, creativity evolved. In Art as Experience, educational philosopher John Dewey argued that art derives its meaning not simply from the object itself, but from the lived experiences that shape both its creation and its interpretation. Art is not merely something we produce, it's something we experience. Later, educator Elliot Eisner argued that arts education develops forms of thinking that cannot be measured by simple right or wrong answers. It requires judgment, interpretation, it requires imagination, the ability to perceive relationships. These became central educational outcomes. And importantly, creativity has never existed in isolation. It is shaped by culture, by experience and feedback and iteration. You might be hearing a pattern here of what we've said in multiple times in previous curios. Artificial intelligence changes one participant within that creative ecosystem, but it does not replace the human experience that gives creativity its meaning. As AI-generated work becomes increasingly sophisticated, something unexpected may happen. Technical excellence becomes easier to achieve, and authenticity becomes more difficult to recognize. Perhaps creative work is entering its own uncanny valley. An AI-generated painting may appear beautiful, and a poem may sound profound, and even a song may evoke emotion. Yet many people instinctively continue asking different questions. Who experienced this? Why was it created? What does it mean? Whose perspective does it actually represent? Educational theorist Donald Schoen described creative practice as a process of reflection in action, continually interpreting, evaluating, and reshaping one's own ideas while they're creating. That reflective dialogue may become increasingly valuable as AI assumes more of the technical production. Because true creativity is not simply producing something new, it's producing something meaningful. And that paradox is compelling. As synthetic creativity becomes abundant, education may place even greater value on what remains uniquely human: perspective, intention, reflection, curiosity, meaning. AI challenges us to articulate what authentic creativity has always been. Now, perhaps the most important shift will not be in creative technology. It will be in creative assessment. Rather than asking, can the student produce this? Educators may increasingly ask, how did this idea evolve? What choices were made, and why were they made? What unique perspective does this work communicate? This would not represent an entirely new approach. Studio-based learning has long emphasized critiques. It routinely evaluates reflection, iteration, revision, artist statements, and even design journals. Artificial intelligence may simply make these forms of evidence more important than ever. And students may increasingly submit creative portfolios that include drafts and prompt histories, reflection journals, design rationale, and documentation of their creative evolution. AI itself may become another creative instrument, just like a camera or digital editing software. The educational emphasis shifts away from proving who produced the artifact toward understanding how the creative thinking unfolded. Artificial intelligence is transforming creative production at extraordinary speed. But perhaps creativity has never been defined by production alone. Photography did not eliminate painting, and digital tools did not eliminate music. Creative technologies expanded the ways people expressed ideas, and perhaps AI will do the same. As John Dewey suggested nearly a century ago, meaningful art grows from lived experience. Artificial intelligence can imitate patterns, but human beings interpret life. And maybe that is why AI-generated work can sometimes feel strangely incomplete, not because it lacks technical quality, but because we instinctively search for traces of another person's experience. Perhaps the future of creativity is about recognizing what only human experience can mean, rather than distinguishing between human versus AI-generated final works. As artificial intelligence becomes an increasingly capable creative partner, education may find itself returning to questions that it has always asked. What makes creative work meaningful? What makes an idea original? What evidence reveals authentic human understanding? Because perhaps creativity was never simply about making something beautiful. It has always been about making something that reflects how we see the world. And that may become more valuable than ever. That's why we keep the cabinet open. Thanks for exploring the EdTech Curio Cabinet.